My name is Julie. I'm sitting in my car, parked outside a cheap hotel by the coast. The engine is off, but my hands are still gripping the steering wheel tightly. The image of my sister screaming at me, "Get out. Money can't buy you a place in this family," keeps replaying in my head. The door of the house I once called home clicked shut behind me with a finality that felt like a death knell. It all started to go wrong at our Sunday dinner. I had just finished a grueling 14-hour day at the advertising firm. I was juggling 4 major projects and had to deal with a last-minute client crisis. But I still drove home because it was our weekly family gathering, where I, as usual, was expected to foot most of the bills while my younger sister, Lily, was the center of attention. As I walked into the dining room, my shoulders were so tight they ached, and my phone kept buzzing with work emails, which I ignored. There was Lily, laughing too loudly, my mom hanging on her every word, and my dad pretending not to notice the underlying tension whenever money was mentioned. I sat down quietly, already calculating in my head which bills were due this week and how I could manage to pay them without overdrawing my account. The argument didn't start with a bang. It started with a small, cutting remark. When my mom thanked me for paying the gas bill again, Lily rolled her eyes and said, "It's no big deal. Julie just throws money around to feel important." Those words struck a nerve that had been raw for years. For once, I didn't hold back. I told her I was sick of being treated like a human 18, the one who always held everything together while she lived a carefree life. Her face hardened, and she stood up, pointing at me and screaming, "Get out. Money can't buy you a place in this family." My mom, always on Lily's side, added, "You're just jealous. She doesn't flaunt her spending like you do." My dad stared at his plate as if it was the most interesting thing in the world. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Fine." That single word was like a spark in a dry forest. My dad looked up and snapped, "If you hate this family so much, then leave. No one's stopping you." I stood up, my hands shaking as I pushed in my chair, and walked out. They had no idea what those words would cost them. As I think back, I remember when I was 20. Our parents' investment in a startup had failed miserably, and creditors were hounding us day and night. While my friends were planning their college vacations, I was working 2 part-time jobs to keep the family afloat. When I landed my first real job in advertising, every raise, every bonus, and every freelance gig went towards paying off the mortgage, overdue bills, and Lily's endless shopping sprees. Lily was the charming one, with big dreams and an even bigger appetite for luxury. She bought designer shoes on sale and took expensive trips on credit cards. She never bothered to open the statements for a brand new sports car she had no business driving. And I, because my credit score was good, became the guarantor and co-signer of her loans. One day, I found a loan agreement hidden in a drawer in the hallway. There, in black ink, was my name, or rather, a poor imitation of my signature. Lily had forged my name for a private loan, and my parents had turned a blind eye because she was going through a tough time and needed a fresh start. I was heartbroken, but I paid the installments on time because I didn't want them to lose the house. On that fateful Sunday dinner, before the explosion, my mom started her usual comparison game. "Julie is so good with money," she said, patting my hand without looking at me. "But Lily has such a kind heart. She just needs more time to grow up." I tried to ignore it at first, focusing on my food. Lily leaned back in her chair, scrolling on her phone, and said casually, "I'm not irresponsible. I just don't have Julie's control freak complex. She acts like she owns the whole family just because she pays for stuff." My jaw tightened, and I said in a low voice, "I'm just trying to keep us from losing everything." My mom tooted and said, "No one asked you to sacrifice so much, Julie." That was the last straw. "Really?" I said, a bitter laugh in my throat. "No one asked me who signed that loan in my name. I found the paperwork, and the signature looks a lot like mine, but I don't remember signing it." The room went dead silent. Lily's fork froze halfway to her mouth. My dad's had jerked up, and my mom's smile faded. "What are you talking about?" Lily asked, her voice suddenly sharp. I locked eyes with her and said, "I'm talking about the loan you took out using my name, The one I've been paying for so the bank doesn't take the house. My mom shot Lily a look of shock and anger and whispered, "Is that true?" Lily's cheeks flushed, and for the first time that night, I saw fear in her eyes. "It wasn't a big deal," she mumbled. "I knew you'd help. You always do." That sentence was like pouring gasoline on a fire. The yelling, the accusations, and finally, the get out followed. After I left, I drove to this hotel. In the small, quiet room, I dropped my bag on the bed and finally let myself breathe. I showered and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. There were no missed calls, no texts. The next morning, my phone started buzzing like crazy. The family group chat was filled with panicked messages. The automatic payments hadn't gone through, and the bank was threatening foreclosure. My aunt also messaged, saying my mom had called her in tears. In the following weeks, I felt like I was living in two different worlds. At work, I was Julie, the successful advertising professional, calm and confident. At home, or rather, away from home, I was the runaway daughter, watching the fallout from a safe distance. At first, my family's messages alternated between anger and manipulation. My mom wrote, "How could you do this to us? We're your parents." A few hours later, "We shouldn't have shouted. Just come back and we'll talk." Lily's texts were harsher. "You're insane. You're going to make us lose the house." I typed and erased dozens of responses. Finally, I sent a short message. "I'm not the one who forged someone's signature and expected them to pay forever." After that, the messages changed. They started pleading. My dad called one evening, his voice strained. "We're in trouble, Julie. The bank gave us a deadline. Your mom's been working extra shifts, and Lily is trying to find a job." I thought about Lily's closet full of designer clothes and her sports car. I said flatly, "She can sell the car and the expensive stuff she bought with money we didn't have." He sighed and said it wasn't that simple. I replied, "It is. You just don't like the choices." I found a therapist through my company's employee assistance program. In her office, I started to understand that my worth wasn't defined by my sacrifices. She helped me realize that leaving the house was about finding myself again. Through my aunt, I got updates from home. My parents were thinking of selling the house because they were months behind on the mortgage. Lily had lost her car and was looking for a real job, not just posting pictures on social media and calling herself an influencer. One evening, as I was walking on the beach, Lily messaged me. "I got a job. It's retail and it sucks. My feet hurt and I'm always tired." A second message followed. "Is this what you've been doing all these years?" I stared at the screen for a long time and finally replied, "Yes, and worse, because I did it for all of you." Months passed. I rented a small studio, bought my own furniture, and built a life for myself. I got a promotion at work and watched my savings grow for the first time without secretly earmarking it for my family's emergencies. Then one day, my dad called. His voice sounded old and tired. "We sold the house, Julie. We had no choice. We moved into a small rental. Lily is working 2 jobs to make ends meet. We were hoping we could see you somewhere neutral, just to talk." I agreed. We met at a cafe near my office. My parents looked smaller, like they had finally been forced to face reality. My mom blurted out, "I'm sorry." She apologized for taking my sacrifices for granted, for always defending Lily, and for telling me no one asked me to help while still expecting me to. My dad admitted that he had hidden behind my responsibility and hadn't been accountable. He said, "You were more of a provider than I was. That's not right." I told them I didn't leave because I stopped loving them. I left because staying meant losing myself. My mom slid a folded document across the table. With a lawyer's help, they had transferred the responsibility of the forged loan to Lily, legally and morally freeing me from it. They didn't beg me to come back. Instead, they asked if I would consider meeting Lily, who wanted to apologize in person. The next Sunday, I went to their new rental. Lily opened the door. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing simple clothes instead of her usual designer outfits. She said, "Come in." Inside, The living room was cramped, with boxes stacked in the corners. We sat down for dinner. Before we started eating, Lily cleared her throat and said, "I need to go first." She then poured out her heart. She talked about how she had treated me like a safety net, how she had forged my signature and thought it was no big deal, and how she had resented me for reminding her that money didn't grow on trees. She said, "When you left, I thought you were bluffing. I thought you'd come back begging to be part of the family. But the real world hit me hard. I had to sell my car and most of my clothes. I'm working double shifts now, and I finally understand what you've been going through all these years. I'm so sorry." I took a deep breath and said, "Thank you for saying it. It was wrong, and it wasn't just a misunderstanding." I told them I wasn't moving back. I had my own life now. My mom nodded and said, "We don't want you to fix things anymore. We want you to visit because you want to." My dad added that they wouldn't come to me for money unless it was a real emergency, and even then, it would be a conversation, not an expectation. Dinner was surprisingly normal. Lily complained about her rude customers, my mom talked about learning to cook on a tight budget, and my dad joked about his new, humbling job. When it was time to leave, Lily asked me in a whisper, "Do you still see me as the enemy?" I thought about everything that had happened, the hotel room, the missed calls, the sold house, and her calloused hands. I said slowly, "No, not the enemy. But I'm not your automatic savior anymore. If we're going to be in each other's lives, it has to be as equals." She smiled with relief and said, "I can work with that." As I drove back to my apartment, I realized that my revenge wasn't about hurting them. It was about making them face reality and giving myself the permission to live my own life. I still don't know how close I'll let them get, but at least now, the decision is mine.